Cat, you do not knock anything over, please. All right. Yeah, hi. I'm touching you. You want to come say hi to people? No, you just want scritches? Okay. Well, that works too. So, as I was saying, we're not going to be going over the fluff content. I want to save those adventures for you to play or to run. Now, there is a little bit of crunch in the adventures, but I'm looking at this as just pure rules that you can incorporate into your own game. And what I want to do in this next segment is discuss things like ship upgrades and combat and travel and all that. And thank you, Osheeps, for the welcome back. Also, I owe a hello to Orc and Lysaria for stopping by. Orc, I hope all is well, especially with your band. And Lysaria, I hope that you're continuing to rock out and have fun and being the best you that you can be. We did say goodbye to McFluffy Muffin and Coffee Cat, and 12-Sided Guy has joined us as well. So thank you all. Now, if any of you did want to sponsor minis, kind of what we're doing last time, if you want, we could do the concept of, well, who would the officers of your ship be? And to answer that, we'll open up a box. This could be another interesting exercise as well, as we go over things like parts of the ship and upgrades. If we opened up your box and these represented aspects of your ship or upgrades to your ship, what would they be? So it's up to you. Let's have fun with it, right? They're minis. It's a time to celebrate anyway. Good, you had a rough sleep? Well, good morning to you. You know you're welcome to hang out here and just, you can jam out and rest, or you could be as chatty as you want, Lysaria. All right, so we are on page 196 of the Ghosts of Saltmarsh. Superior ship upgrades. Some vessels possess extraordinary abilities, whether due to magic or superior artisanship. The upgrades below can replace a ship's existing components or provide a new element to augment the ship's abilities. Adding an upgrade costs 15,000 gold pieces and requires 1d4 weeks of work. During that time, the ship must remain in port. If the ship leaves, the work must start over, but you don't need to pay the gold piece cost a second time. Hull upgrades. Any ship with a hull can gain one of the following upgrades. In some cases, an upgrade also provides a benefit to the ship's other components. A churning hull. A tempest rages within these rune-etched iron chains. Raiders and pirates who operate under the blessings of a storm god sometimes make use of this upgrade. By draping the chains over a ship's hull, the storm's fury thrashes into the water around it. The water within 210 feet of the ship is difficult terrain for everything other than this ship. Very cool, very cosmetic, very thematic. It has a good defensive ability, and it could be interesting as well. You know, it might make fishing hard, but it could also help you repel some sea serpent attacks or some dragon turtle attacks or the like. If it's agitating the water and it's kind of like vibrating and making things difficult. Orc, you're going to be playing a Goliath. You're essentially David Attenborough. In our groups, we roll our stats, and I ended up with a very high wisdom but very low intelligence. I was wondering how you all would go about playing a high wiz, low int character. High wiz, low int is you're curious, right? You notice things, but you have trouble putting them together. Or you might be more feeling than logical. And so you'll often express your feelings, but you may not know what to say. You can tell someone's upset, but the methodology used to try and counter that might be difficult for you. Well, it'd be the opposite, oh sheeps. Wisdom is stuff like common sense and street smarts. Intelligence is are things like book smarts. Now you could also have a death vessel, or a wessel if you prefer. Crafted with materials harvested from the Shadowfell. This upgrade grants a ship an aura of dread. As an action, the ship can create a pulse of horrific energy. Every creature that is an enemy of the ship who is on board or within 210 feet of it must make a DC 14 wisdom saving throw. Remember, a lot of your crew, +0, right? They're commoners. They have 10 and everything. On a failed save, a creature is frightened of the ship for 1 minute. On a successful save, the creature is immune to this ability for 24 hours. Once this ability is used, it can't be used again until 1d4 hours have passed. A frost-locked hull. This upgrade replaces a ship's hull with supernatural ice drawn from the elemental planes. The hull and the other components of the ship are immune to cold damage, but vulnerable to fire. The ship can also move at its normal speed over ice of any thickness, floating on the ice at the same depth as it would water. A living vessel. This vessel's hull was crafted in the Feywild under the direction of Master Eladrin Shipwrights. It is a living plant, drawing sustenance from water and sunlight. Vines covered in thick leaves hang over the side, and the wood runs with fresh sap when damaged. The ship gains a +2 bonus to all constitution checks or saving throws. As long as the ship has at least 1 hit point, it regains 10 hit points every minute. Meow. Hi. Did you bring something for me to throw, or are you just feeling lovey? Meow. Okay, the answer is meow. A reinforced hull. A master shipwright can use superior materials and clever design to make a ship's hull more resilient. Such reinforcement doubles the hull's hit point maximum. Or a vigilant watch. A row of crystal orbs, each filled with viscous liquid, and a here we go, and a beholder's eyeball is mounted along this ship's hull. Invisible creatures are visible while on the ship or within 120 feet of it. Aha. Take that, pirates who try and use invisibility to sneak up. All right, there's a couple movement upgrades. Using a combination of magic and clockwork, the oars on this ship require only 1 crew member to use them, pushing the button or lever that activates them. Hey, no, you do not have permission to do that. Why are you being like this? You don't like salsa, so it's not that. It's not because I'm teasing you with it. Sorry, sometimes. Hey. You gotta make time. All right. I have my hand covering the part of the chair she's trying to scratch. And so she stopped scratching because she doesn't want to hurt me. But she's licking my fingers now. And rubbing on them. Well, I guess I'm stuck like this. I can't move. Anyway, ever full sails. These billowing sails are woven from cloud stuff drawn from the elemental plane of air. Wind whips and whistles around them, allowing a ship to move with a speed of 60, regardless of direction or relative to the wind. Defiant Sails. These sails glitter with a fine coat of mithril treated with abjuration magic. While the sails are unfurled, ranged weapon attacks made against the ship and anyone on board it are made with disadvantage as a result of the sail's protective magic. This drawback doesn't apply if the attacker is aboard the ship. Hey, stop. Or you can get some dragon sails. How about that? Dragon scales woven into these sails make them more resistant to damage. The sails gain a +3 bonus to armor class, and they have resistance to a damage type based on the type of scales used to craft them, as shown on the Dragon Sails table. And that's, I mean, that is standard issue Dragon Association there. True elements do not degrade each other. They either destroy or enhance. And that may be, or at least that's how it was originally presented. I'm not one who presents other planes traditionally, so I don't really have an opinion on that one, Bubonic. A 24-hour Maddie stream. That'd be interesting to do sometime. It'd probably be a lot more video game oriented than D&D. Unless I did some sort of just like ongoing combat where you all just like cycled in and out and I was just up running combat the whole time. Screaming Sails. Woven from the energy of captured wraiths and bound with the spirit of a banshee. These sails groan mournfully. Jax, thank you very much for the follow. Welcome aboard. I hope you're enjoying the content. And if you have any questions or about what we're presenting or about, you know, your own situation, if you're just getting started with D&D or you have been playing forever and you just say, hey, you know, this seemed cool. Yeah, hang out with us. Pull up a chair. You're sitting at a table in a game store. And we're having some table talk. And Defiant Zero, thank you very much for that host. As an action, while within 5 feet of the sails, the ship's captain can cause the sails to unleash a howl. Every creature hostile to the ship who is on board within 300 feet of it must succeed on a DC 14 Wisdom saving throw, or the creature takes 46 psychic damage and is then frightened. My goodness, those screaming sails, right? The average crew member is going to need a, well, let's see. So they need a 14. Hey, cat, stop. No. Why you do? Hi. Anyway. So a 50% chance is 10. So 55, 60, 65, 70 is going to bring us to a 14. All of the sailors have a 30% chance to live. Unless they're like super bulky sailors. All of the crew has a 30% chance to live through a screaming sails attack. That's brutal. Oh my goodness. And they're frightened on top of that. Hey. I will close you out of this room. Please don't make me do that because you're lovely and you're beautiful. And you're very soft. But I will close you out of the room if I have to. Scything oars. Sharpened, magically reinforced oars make a vessel dangerous to approach. When the ship takes an action that moves it with these oars, any creature or object in the water within 10 feet of it at any point of the move must make a DC 10 dexterity saving throw, taking 2d6 slashing damage on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one. So it's churning the water, like it's a bunch of blades. Weapon upgrades. Arcane Artillery. Using a method similar to those to produce magic weapons, a skilled spellcaster imbues a ship's weapon with destructive energy. This weapon gains a +2 bonus to its attack and damage rolls, and its attacks count as magical. Now you may notice, or you may have noticed, that the ships have... So here, ballista or mangonels. Mangonels are like little mini catapults that can fling boulders or, pots of glue or alchemist fire or whatever. You may notice that they have a built-in attack to hit and then damage. And so you would just be getting that static upgrade on that static number. You don't want hot salsa, I promise you. I super promise you. Sorry, back to it. Enhanced by abjuration magic, concussive rounds attacks burst with raucous noise, capable of momentarily distracting and disorienting enemy crews. If this weapon hits a vehicle's hull, that vehicle's speed decreases by 2d10 feet until the start of the attacker's next turn. Explosive rounds. Drawing on powerful evocation magic, this weapon's attacks are imbued with unstable energy that explodes in a fiery blast. When this weapon hits, it deals an extra 2d6 fire damage. Grasping rounds. This weapon creates spectral chains that trail after its shots, restraining enemy vessels in their grasp. When this weapon hits a ship, that vehicle must succeed on a DC 14 strength saving throw, or it can't move away from the attacker. As an action, the attacking ship can end this effect, and the target can end it by taking an action and succeeding on a DC 14 strength check. Now, bear in mind, there's a 14 strength check, that a character can make. Because that's not too difficult to do as a human being or even a halfling. And so the ship stats, if you go and look at them again, or you look at the last broadcast, they're going to have stats that seem similar to people, even though they are gigantic vessels. And that's fine, because we don't need to turn these into a different system for combat or saves. This is still a streamlined system. It still makes sense, and it is still possible. And remember too, a ship doesn't necessarily have strength of its own. And so something like a DC 14 strength saving throw, just represents the fact it's a floating piece of wood on the water and might carry some momentum, but it's not necessarily strong itself. Hey. No claws. And figurehead upgrades. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed a little bit of conversation. I was on such a fun roll going over these upgrades. Yeah, the screaming sails are really cool, O'Sheeps. 12-sided guy. I've got one wholly off topic, though, at least of the topic of the stream. So folks in chat, please feel free to chime in. Defiant Zero, you wish to subtly cast Wish? Then do so. Okay, weekend game. You've chosen Inheritor as your background and a shield as your item. Beyond that, though, I have a complete brain fart, and I can't think of anything for it. Why is it an heirloom? Why I have it? Well, 12-sided, if it is a shield, you have to decide, is it a cosmetic shield or is it a useful shield? Like, does it actually work as a shield? and not a decoration piece. In either case, does it bear your family's coat of arms? Will people recognize that and therefore give you scorn or favor? Is it the key to unlocking something like a family vault? If you press the insignia of the shield into a receptor of some kind? Does the shield have the family coat of arms on the outside, and on the inside, a family tree? And someday you want to add your name to it. But only, maybe only people who have worn the shield get their name added to it, or something along those lines. So this is a matter of family honor. This is a matter of keeping the tradition alive. And it's a matter of remembering your history. You know, if you want to treat the shield like a trinket, you can roll for a trinket and give it a similar property. Maybe there's maybe you find a secret compartment inside the shield with a little time capsule or a note from an ancestor. And that note could send you on a quest, or it could, you know, it could bring you to a treasure cave or the final resting place of someone. Or it could just be, you know, a spell that was forgotten and hidden away. And so, you know, you must keep it safe, because if a wizard ever found this spell out, and, you know, and then if more wizards copied that spell, it would be disastrous. There's a ton you can do with that prompt, 12-sided. Your initial thought for the character: someone that can recognize emotions and social cues and the like, but doesn't have the presence of mind to act on them. You think that would be in the realm of high wisdom and low intelligence? I could see that as being the case. I mean, just low intelligence, just you're not necessarily informed. And so maybe especially because you're emotional, you might act in a knee-jerk fashion. Or a lot of the things you say are things that you heard other people say, so it's secondhand information, or you parrot a lot of other things. And you hope it sounds smart, or you're like, well, I think I get the feeling of it, and that feeling makes me feel good. So yeah, I'll use this other person's words. Defiant, you're in the process of making a character, trying not to break the game too much. Well, what do you call breaking the game? Guardian Figurehead depicts an armored knight. As an action, the ship can activate this item, causing it to animate as an iron golem. The golem acts on the ship's turn when the captain uses one of the ship's actions. The golem remains animated for 1 minute. At the end of the time, it teleports back to its position as a figurehead. Once the ship uses this action, it can't use it again for 24 hours. Nice. A dragon figurehead that shoots out a 60-foot cone of flame. Oh, that is going to deal some damage. Any sailors there are only going to be able to have a 40% chance to survive. Ooh. Storm Giant. Clutching a Thunderbolt as an action, the ship can activate this item to create a 60-foot cone that originates from the figurehead. Another con saving... Well, this one's a con saving throw. Taking 46 thunder damage. Creature that fails its saving throw is also pushed 10 feet away from the figurehead. Oh, wow. So even overboard or the like. Yeah, these weapons alone, if you're using commoners as your sailors, you are going to be having a lot of casualties here. Bones of Endless Toil. The bones of ancient mysterious creatures festoon... Oh, I love festoon. Such a good vocab word. Festoon the ship. Potent runes crawl across these remains, emitting a sickly green radiance. When a humanoid dies aboard the ship, the creature must make a DC 12 wisdom saving throw. On a successful save, it dies as normal. If it fails, it immediately rises as a zombie obedient to the ship's captain. The zombie gains a working knowledge of the ship, allowing it to serve as a member of the crew. A number of creatures equal to the ship's creature capacity can be animated in this manner at any given time. The bones of endless toil collect the dead and use them to crew the ship. A smuggler's banner. This flag is meant to be flown from a ship's mast. Its powerful magic causes it to appear as a flag or banner displaying the symbol of a group, captain, or realm friendly to the viewer. Multiple viewers might see different flags or crests. The banner's true power is its ability to aid a ship in making rapid escapes. As an action, the ship and all friendly creatures aboard it teleport up to 3 miles to a known destination of the captain's choice. Hostile creatures aboard the ship don't move with the ship and fall into the water it once occupied. Once this item is used to teleport, it can't teleport this way again for 2d6 days. Taskmasters Drums. A 4-foot-tall bronze drum comes with a pair of iron mallets. A creature can activate the drums as an action, causing the hammers to float above the drum and strike it to produce a thundering rhythm. For the next minute, the ship gains 1 additional action as long as it has at least 1 action. Once this item is used, it can't be activated again for 2d10 hours. So a lot of these are a one-off, especially in combat, unless it's somehow like a protracted chase and you get very lucky on your rolls. Now we're going to combine some of these aspects, right? The crew, the officers, and the parts of the ships that we discovered last night and the things that we're talking about tonight. A ship rolls initiative using its dexterity, and it uses its crew's quality score as a modifier to that roll. On a ship's turn, the captain decides which of the ship's actions to use. Now remember, a ship's quality can go up to a positive 10, and it can go down to a negative 10. You start at a 4. So in this case, let's scroll up real quick. If we go to a galley, its dex is -3. So we would roll a d20, subtract 3, and then add our quality score to it, which is starting out at 4. So we actually have a +1 initiative. And the reason why it's based on that, think about it. If your crew is happy and ready and cognizant and competent, they're going to act more quickly and decisively. And their initiative, their ability to act or react as necessary, is going to be higher. So a galley just starting out is going to have a +1 to its initiative roll. During an encounter, the captain, first mate, and bosun each have access to 2 special action options. Take aim and full speed ahead, both detailed below. As an action, the captain, first mate, or bosun directs the crew's firing, aiding and aiming one of the ship's weapons. Select one of the ship's weapons that is within 10 feet of the officer. It gains advantage on the next attack roll it makes before the end of the ship's next turn. Full speed ahead. As an action, while on deck, the captain, first mate, or bosun can exhort the crew to work harder and drive the ship forward faster. Roll a d6 and multiply the result by 5. Apply the total as a bonus to the ship's speed until the end of the ship's next turn. If the ship is already benefiting from this action's bonus, don't add the bonuses together. The higher one is what applies. Sometimes running away is the best course of action. If you don't want to endanger the lives of your crew or to damage the value of your ship through combat, get out of there. Run away. Or at least try and maneuver yourself into a more favorable position. Managing a ship's entire crew in combat can prove cumbersome, especially as larger ships often host dozens of sailors. Typically, the crew is too busy managing the ship to do anything else during combat. Don't worry about tracking their specific positions unless you want to add that complexity. You can assume that the crew is evenly divided among the upper 2 decks of a ship. Slaying a ship's crew reduces the number of actions most ships can take, making the crew a tempting target in combat. Resolve individual attacks as normal, using the guidelines for resolving many identical attacks at once from the Dungeon Master's Guide as needed. In the case of, pardon me, in the case of spells that cover an area such as Fireball or Lightning Bolt, you may track the exact location of the spell and crew to determine how many sailors it affects. Alternatively, you can roll 1d6 per level of the spell. The total of the dice is the number of crew members that are caught in the spell's area. I love that they're trying to make it efficient and just simple. It allows for the complexity, but if you don't want to worry about it, here's a nice streamlined method. If a ship moves into the space occupied by a creature or an object, the ship might crash. A ship avoids crashing if the creature or object is at least 2 sizes smaller than it, so a halfling's not going to stop a galley. When a ship crashes, it must immediately make a DC 10 Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, it takes damage to its hull based on the size of the creature or objet d'art it crashed into, as shown on the crash damage table. It also stops moving if the object or creature is 1 size smaller than it or larger. Otherwise, the ship continues moving and the creature or object collided with moves to the nearest unoccupied space that isn't in the ship's path. At the DM's discretion, an object that is forced to move but is fixed in place is instead destroyed. A creature struck by a ship must make a dexterity saving throw with a DC equal to 10 plus the ship's strength modifier, taking damage based on the ship's size. On a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. So here is the halfling that would get bumped into by a ship. And so it would receive this amount of bludgeoning damage. Oh, I'm sorry. No, a gargantuan? Never mind. My mistake. This is the size of the ship. A gargantuan galley would deal 16 D10 bludgeoning damage to a halfling. Travel at sea. It's not just pirates and sea monsters that make journeys on the sea so treacherous. Foul weather, nautical accidents, infested foods, illness, and worse all conspire to send even the most capable crews to watery graves. The following rules help adjudicate travel at sea, specifically voyages of an hour or more. This material builds on the travel rules in the Player's Handbook and the Dungeon Master's Guide. Travel is close by here. We can go over to it, but we do have our references open if needed. Ships travel at a speed given in their stat blocks. Unlike with land travel, ships can't choose to move at a faster pace, though they can choose to go slower. If a ship's mode of movement takes damage, it might be slowed. For every decrease of 10 feet in speed, reduce the ship's travel pace by 1 mile per hour. And by the way, that is an excellent, a good reminder. Your speed in feet per round, if you divide it by 10, that's effectively miles per hour. And I know we just got some weird kind of, perfect eclipse of imperial and metric here. But your speed in feet per round translates to miles per hour. And because ships can always be moving at all 24 hours of your day, or more or less, depending on your world, bear that in mind. The activities available to a ship's crew and passengers are a bit different from the options available to a group traveling by land. Refer to activity while traveling in Chapter 8 of the Player's Handbook for more information on some topics discussed below. Speed, so travel pace, difficult terrain, types of movement. Activity while traveling is on page 182 for those of you following along at home. I'm sorry, I missed out on a little bit of chat here. Sorry, everyone. 12-sided guy said it's a functional shield, plus 2 to AC. I'm still in the process of making a character, trying not to break the game. Hey, Igneal, welcome. My gosh, sorry, Igneal. I was on such a roll talking about ships and all this stuff. I missed out. Oh, Igneal, I hope you're still hanging out and you're hearing my howdy. A character that flows properly. I want to do a duo class as a sorcerer rogue with only 2 levels into rogue, which would, I believe, allow me to get access to level 8 or 9 spells, while being able to use sneak attack and use Misty Step as well to disengage after attacks. I'm not sure if he would be able to wear rogue's armor and stuff or not. That partially depends. If you go sorcerer first, you don't get any armor proficiencies. Defiant. So you'd have to go rogue first to get the armor proficiencies. You want to say something about the elements? It's a bit long, but it's very informative. Well, Bubonic, if you can break it up into manageable paragraphs, you're welcome to post it. The one thing I liked as a sorcerer was getting the ability to subtly cast and not worrying about counter spells. I think having the 2 rogue would allow me as well to use a dagger or something. I was told I just need a poison dagger and I'd be OP. Yes and no. I mean, poison can work on a lot of things. Poison is also the most resisted and immune damage type. But then again, I mean, if you're in a kingdom of humans and everyone's a human, then there you go. So it just depends. If your DM is encouraging or will allow you to take various poisons for your dagger, and that's a delivery method, then there you go. Activity while traveling. The activities available to a ship's crew and passengers are a bit different from the options available to a group traveling by land. All right, so we're there. We can draw a map. A ship's captain often undertakes this activity, producing a map of the ship's progress and helps the crew get back on course if they get lost. No ability check is required. Forage. The characters cast fishing lines, keeping an eye out for sources of food, making a survival check when the DM calls for it. Raise morale. First mate only. The first mate can manage the crew's time to grant extended breaks, provide instruction, and generally improve the quality of life on the ship. Once every 24 hours, if the crew's quality score is 3 or lower, the first mate can make a DC 15 Charisma Persuasion check. On a successful check, the crew's quality score increases by 1. Ah, very good. And remember, that's going to give you a higher initiative, and that's going to help prevent mutiny or other bad reactions from happening. Navigate. Quartermaster only. The quartermaster can try to prevent the ship from becoming lost, making a wisdom survival check when the DM calls for it. Noticing threats. Use the passive perception score of the player characters or the crew to determine whether anyone on the ship notices a hidden threat. The crew has a passive wisdom score equal to 10 plus the crew's quality score. And another reason to have a higher quality. They may only, as individuals, have a 10 in wisdom if they are a commoner. But altogether, when you have 40 eyeballs looking out over the rails, you're going to be more likely to see something. The DM might decide that a threat can be noticed only by characters in a specific area of the ship. For example, only characters below deck might have a chance to hear or spot a creature hiding on board. Repair, bosun only. At the end of the day, the ship's bosun can make a strength check using carpenter's tools. On a 15 or higher, each damaged component regains hit points equal to 1d6 plus the crew's quality score. The component other than the hull that had 0 hit points becomes functional again. And stealth, captain only. The ship's captain can engage in this activity only if the weather conditions restrict visibility, such as in heavy fog. The ship makes a dexterity check with a bonus equal to the crew's quality score to determine if it can hide. Now, this says captain only. Could you feasibly get away with saying the first mate can step up and ask that? Because, I mean, the first mate is just that. What happens if the captain, goes down? Could another officer step up? In the DM, it's going to be your call. Are you going to hard lock it, or will you be flexible? And if so, are you flexible to the first mate, or are you flexible to another officer, but they do something at disadvantage? Think about this. These are prompts. These are optional rules. Have fun with it. And I would say err on the side of asking your players to be adventurous and thoughtful and think about what they would try to do in the various situations you put them in. And, creative problems need creative answers. That makes sense. Well, I hope you're getting a good sense for that. I'm not the best, at least not offhand, when it comes to multi-classing or trying to build min-maxed characters. If I sat down and thought about it, I might be able to help you out. I can't just necessarily do it off the cuff, since I don't go to like care-op forums or anything. So Defiant, there are some things I can try and help you out with, or at least talk about things in a thematic sense. But I wish I could give you more technical builds, and that's just, it's beyond what I know and can easily present on stream without having to just sit down and take the time to look everything up. So captain to first mate to quartermaster to bosun. I can't see the cook as captain. No. However, the cook is someone that all the sailors know and rely on. And in some ways, the cook probably hears things that the captain never does. Including if something is going wrong, like something's bad or morale is low or rumors. Because people may want to tend to only tell the captain good things or to report in a steadfast manner. And maybe to a degree that bleeds over to the quartermaster. But the person who butters your bread, especially if it's late at night and the other officers are asleep and the cook's in the galley and someone comes downstairs and says, "Oh, I can't wait till we get home. I just, my wife is pregnant and she's due any week now, and I hope I can get home." And the captain may never have known. Now, that may not necessarily have an effect in one way or another, or what that could mean is that the cook who has this knowledge can apply that in creative ways that the captain wouldn't be able to otherwise. All right. For the following pages, I am not going to get into the nitty-gritty. I'm not going to narrate it all. It's here. I want to make you aware of it. And if you decide to read it or run this style of content, then check out how to determine it. In fact, here, let's go to group checks. Everyone in the group makes the ability check. If at least half the group succeeds, the whole group succeeds. Otherwise, the group fails. Group checks don't come up very often, and they're most useful when the characters succeed or fail as a group. For example, when adventurers are navigating a swamp, the DM might call for a group wisdom survival check to see if the characters can avoid the quicksand, etc. And so this content on 175 of the player's handbook, as this supplement does expect you to have the player's handbook. So it's going to go through here. It's going to tell you how to run these hazards. look at all of the interesting charts, especially on things like a success, a total success, like partial failure, total failure. What happens in these hazards, in these emergencies? What type of fog? What type of fire? If there's an infestation aboard, what do you do if your food is going bad because you have rats? Ocean environs, blue holes. Actually, we talked about those on stream last week, I want to say. There's a freshwater blue hole here in Ohio. There's probably several, but there's one local to where I live. And you can actually find these. You can find pictures of these. They're very fascinating, and they can look very scary to some people. But so, yeah, here, in this environment, what lives in there? There you go. Coral reefs, currents, depth, eldritch mist, kelp forests. All of this is, oh my goodness, a kraken's grave. All of this is here as options. Just because you want to run with content in this book doesn't mean you have to run with every chart or every mechanic. You don't have to memorize everything, or even go off of, you know, what happens. You know, take it as a suggestion and step sideways with it. Come up with your own unique interpretation of the prompt. And so this is why I don't want to go over this, because going over this stuff would be like me just narrating the adventures to you. Well, I would like to think that I have a wonderful narration voice, and I can have a limited range of character voices and pacing and even some sound effects. Ultimately, just reading D&D adventures wouldn't be so much fun, or as much as fun as playing them. So if you're here, oh, look at this. In open water encounters, levels 1 through 4. Some of this stuff might even be reprints, if I recall correctly, from Xanathar's Guide to Everything, but it could be expanded from there. And you're going to see that there are a ton of monsters from the Monster Manual. And if there are monsters that are not in the Monster Manual, even if they're from Volo's Guide to Monsters, they're going to be here in this supplement as a reference. So it's nice and self-contained. Look at this. Oh, crew member name. Nobody does W's better than Maddie. When Maddie got quiet and leaned in, I found myself leaning in trying to listen instead of just turning my headphones up. So let's see here. Let's generate a crew member. 2d20. We landed on 2 and 3. Oh, you know our crew member, Old Copper. Old Copper. We can't forget Old Copper. That man is so old, and his skin is so coppery. You know, what if we rolled a 14 and an 8? His name would be Wee Fingers. And he got that name because he has some problems aiming. But you know, only when he's on break. He's a master gunner otherwise. You want Wee Fingers to be at the ballista when times are tough. But you know, if he's not hanging on to that, then he got that name otherwise. Hypnotic Gamer. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Veymut's feeling kind of depressed for 4 days now, and you don't know what to do or say. For ideas, Hypnotic Gamer, sometimes in that state, you just have to leave a person alone. If you try some things, or if you're always there, as much as you care for him and, you are a safe person for him to express himself to, some people just need to be left alone for a while. And what that's going to do is a couple things, Hypnotic Gamer. If Vehemut has space, he might feel less pressure. He also may realize that absence makes the heart grow fonder. And that will also allow you to work on the things that you need to do in life, so that you are continuing to be happy and successful, and that Vehemut can catch up to you when he is ready after cycling through whatever emotions that he needs to cycle through. And so sometimes the best thing to do is to leave the person alone. Say, you know how to contact me if you want to talk. I will leave you alone until it's time to do so. And you are the only person who's going to know when that is. And there you go. You go about your day, and you may miss him like crazy, Hypnotic Gamer. You may miss him like crazy, but give him that space. Because he's either going to step up and rise to the occasion. If you feel like he's got his head up his butt, now, I'm not saying this to lambast him or anything. Then he might just pull his head out of his butt. Because we all get like that. I get like that. I may not do yoga, but I know that maneuver. Or he's going to realize that, you know what, he has actually hit this point where he realizes that he needs to communicate, or he needs to take action to get better. Because the world is continuing to pass by, and he shouldn't be falling behind when he might be able to take action otherwise. And so he's either going to rise to the occasion, hit the bottom of the barrel, and then look up and realize, hey, that's the direction I got to go. Or he'll just sort of come out of it on his own and say, you know what, I was in a funk. I'm sorry. I was, I did what I needed. I did what I needed to do. I'm sorry to have concerned you, but you know what? Let's continue talking and being in a communicative, respectful relationship with each other. He's been getting the same job and no one wants him for IT. Well, I mean, I guess sometimes any port in a storm, what's the job? But also sometimes, I mean, he may be trained in it, have an education and certification. Sometimes you just got to step up and do the things that you don't want to do. And then the opportunity will come along. Especially if you go into that other job with positivity and enthusiasm, you can end up meeting all kinds of people. If not moving up from within an organization, you might make friends with someone who knows someone who's looking for someone competent in IT. I mean, look at this channel, for example. And I'm not even just going to use me as the example with me having met all of you and all of the different things that you do. Because you all have such vastly different lives and certifications and edumacations and life experiences and contacts and people you know and people that know you. And if I never engaged on this platform, I never would have met you all. Not that I'm dragging my feet to be on camera in front of you all or anything. But if I didn't do this, especially if I didn't start this over a year ago, then we wouldn't as a community have the momentum built up to where we are now. Like, again, continuing to meet people and help each other out and advise each other and support each other. And today couldn't have happened without all of the other days over the year on this channel that led up to this point. Because we got to keep the momentum going. And you know what? I've had bad days on the channel. I've had to either call a day off, or I've had to cut something short, or there are some times where I got on camera and I was sick. I mean, not that I would get you sick through the camera, but I was physically sick and I felt like poo. Or there were some times where I was emotionally distraught. One such time was about a year ago. It was a year ago in this month that I had to put my my elder cat to sleep. And when we first started broadcasting, so you all got a chance to meet Miss Sophie for 3 or 4 months on camera. And she'd show up, beautiful Tux cat, black fur, but white glove paws and shoes and a belly. So you get like a little penguin effect. Beautiful cat. You can actually see a clip of her. I saved a clip of her from a show in the clips archive on our Discord. But that night, after having to put Sophie to sleep, I got in front of the camera, and I was here. I showed up. We had a good broadcast. We did this together. Did I feel awesome after it? No, I still was very forlorn, and I miss my Miss Sophie terribly. I have her ashes, even. But anyway. But if I didn't have that night with you all, I wouldn't have this night with you all. And that wasn't the broadcast that I was hoping to broadcast, but you know what? It happened. And so I mean this as words of encouragement. I hope you can pass on to Veyamut that, you know what? He may be trained in IT, but damn it, if he's got to work a burger joint for 6 months while he is getting, income and he can pad out a resume and even use that job to try and network and find other people who need IT work. Because it's very possible. You get the old regular customer that comes in and, I don't know, let's say he's at a Wendy's or something, and this customer always gets a number one with everything and a Diet Coke with a baked potato instead of fries. And he's behind the counter, and he's like, oh yeah, I remember you. You order that. I think you order that the past couple times you're in here. And he's like, oh yeah, I order this all the time. I'm glad you remembered. No, not too many people would do that. Well, I have a mind for such things. I try and stay organized. I'm good with computers and everything. Oh, you're good with computers. Well, it just so happens that my grandson got a new computer, or I got a new computer for my grandson, and I'd love some help setting it up. Is that something that maybe you are you knowledgeable about? Yeah, I'll tell you what, after work I'll come by and do it. Oh, thank you. I can give you $50 for doing that. And suddenly he made $50. He made a contact, and that grandpa might know other grandpas that need computer work done. And suddenly it builds and builds. And who knows, if he wouldn't have been at Wendy's for the 6 months to realize this regular customer who came in and got the same thing all the time, but treated that person with respect and dignity and was professional even in a fast food service. I'm only using that as an example because you better believe a lot of my customers work in fast food, and I respect the hell out of it because I know that some of the customers they have to put up with. And if you're behind a counter at a fast food place, at least this one guy in this corner of the world, I respect the hell out of you. If you're showing up and doing that job, I may grumble if you put pickles on my hamburger and I ask for it and the receipt says no pickle, but I'm not going to make a scene out of it. And I realize that you're there working because you got bills to pay. You got your own stuff going on that you got to step up and do. Blackbeard sounds familiar? Nah, forget about it, oh sheeps. Never ever. You're 20 and a project manager, so it's amazing. I've never been so high up like that. Not to brag, but being young and going to school and doing jobs is the way to succeed. There's no bragging about that, Hypnotic. If you have the pursuit, you have the education, you have the network, you're willing to go out and do that, especially if it's long hours or odd hours, or you have to give up like going out to the club at night because you got to get up early in the morning. And yet, if you're paying your bills and all this, then more power to you. Also, Bizza, if that's how to pronounce it, thank you so much for coming along the journey. I know we're talking about D&D, but we're also talking about life lessons. So there we go. Yeah, Bubonic, that was a rough night. And you know what? You know what helped, even though it made me sad? Derek, Macabre Derek, drew a tabaxi. Actually, that night we did a character creation, and we randomly rolled a level 20 tabaxi paladin. Oh my gosh, I was almost in tears. Like, I mean, it's not a sign, but it was this a sign on the guide, and Derek stepped up without me asking, and he drew that female tabaxi paladin. And I was so moved. And that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't have met Derek. Or even if I met Derek, if I hadn't have left an impression on him. Or that he felt motivated that he would step up and draw this character pro bono for a dude who's trying to hold back tears on Twitch because he had to put his cat down that night. Well, that afternoon. I've had so many crap jobs to get me where I am, and I'm not sure how much that amounts to, but there you have it. It's the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, oh sheeps. Hypnotic just told Veamut what you're telling me, and he is refusing. I'm leaving him alone. Then Hypnotic, it seems like that's the only option, so leave him alone. You know, you don't have to play cold shoulder, but you don't need to, you know, don't peek in on him. Don't say, hey, how are you? It's been 2 hours. Just let him be. Let him process. It sounds like he might need some alone time. He needs some him time. And he's gonna have to come to some kind of a reckoning about pursuing I mean, there are in our state, in Ohio, there's job therapy. It sounds a little weird, but it's like job training to help you get skills to become more widely employed, or to help you find and place your skills to be employed in something that you have training in. There's temp agencies. There's ohiomeansjobs.com. There's Monster Career Builder. There's I don't know if he's gone to his county's Ohio Jobs and Family Services, because he can go there and talk to a case manager about, you know, employment processes and finding work. But it's not going to mean a lick if he doesn't want to do it himself. And so this is the time to make him want to do that. There's a phrase that it's a very popular phrase. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And for a lot of us, that's the phrase. That's what we know. The phrase continues on, and maybe not as many people know this, or this is a lesson. This is a lesson in thinking outside the box. You know, a lot of us we hear that, okay, I get it, it's a phrase. Think outside the box. You can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink. But you can make it thirsty. So how do you make the horse thirsty? You can bring it to the water. I mean, you could put its muzzle in the water, and if it doesn't want to drink, it won't. But you can make the horse thirsty for knowledge. I mean, in this case, we're talking a human. For knowledge, for action, for whatever. And in this case, giving him space and quiet and peace could develop that thirst for action. Yeah, O'Sheeps, you're absolutely correct about wanting to fix things for others. Sometimes, paradoxically, the more you want to help, the less they want to be helped. Dirtbike Gaming, welcome, and you are correct. And thank you for chiming in on this, too. Personally, anytime I've been in a dark place like that and sometimes someone keeps giving me solutions like it's easy, even if it is easy, it makes me mad because it doesn't feel easy. Oh, hey, Coffee Cat is back. Welcome. Some people don't want help more. They just want to be heard when they're expressing something. That's true. And so, Hypnotic, in this case, I mean, you're not ignoring him. You're giving him some space. And ultimately, I mean, and that's going to give you time to think also. You know, think about your life, your decisions, and your opportunities, the level of engagement or friendship that you have with the people in your life, what they mean to you, right? If you're going to take time to reflect on this relationship, reflect on others. You know, find your place, find your happy place. Well, yeah. So we've been handing out a lot of life advice here, and by the way, I see that our numbers have jumped up. So thank you. We have 27 people watching. Awesome. And so we've been. Look, this happens in D&D. You know, D&D is based on real life in some aspects, and we're having table talk. We're sitting at a table in a game store. We're a community together here. And so, I mean, we're bringing that back up to, hey, you want to generate a you want to generate a name for a crew member? Then let's roll 2d20. We have 18 and 12. So Lost Rat. Oh, I the stories I can tell you about Lost Rat, you know, on the crew. You know, we keep sending him on to shore leave, and he's always he's the first one off, the last one back. But I'll be darned if he doesn't come back with some amazing stuff. That man can just wiggle into the tightest caves. You know, he goes and explores the places that people don't want to. See, we're creating content, we're creating a story. This person now exists on our crew. But anyway, all these charts, right? NPC ships, is it friendly? Is it neutral? Who's it crewed by? Attitude and race and ship disposition. Different island themes. If you just want to randomly roll islands for your people to encounter, it's an alien island. It's a cursed island. It's a welcoming island. It's wild. If it's an alien island, the leader is an aboleth, a beholder, a death slod, a kraken. The inhabitants would be berserkers and tribal warriors, cult fanatics and cultists, lizard folk shamans and lizard folk, bullywug croakers and bullywugs, or Eoketh. No, I'm sorry, that's not a capital I. Lokatha hunters and Lokatha. And by the way, you can see Appendix C. So these are monsters in this supplement. Things like tribal warriors and berserkers that do not have that, it's in the monster manual, which you're expected to have for a lot of the references. What happens when you land on the island, and how do the alien inhabitants react to you? Do you see all the content that's given to you here? A welcoming island leader, a metallic dragon of the DM's choice, a bard, because of course you'd have a bard. And so I super duper hope that with all of this content, look at these random maps it gives you that go for little adventures in the back that aren't even a part of the overarching module. You're getting all of these story ideas, all of these maps, all of the crunch. And it can exist outside of just what you find here, too, by the way. You want proof? Let's go to the Tomb of Annihilation, shall we? Tomb of Annihilation's been out for at least a couple years. You can hunt pirates as a side quest if you play Tomb of Annihilation. If you help the Lord's Alliance map Chult, you will be promised a ship that will be arrived and given to you as a reward for finding these lost cities. Now all of a sudden your party has a ship. What do you do with it as you sail around Chult? There's dangers in the waters. I promise you that. I don't think it's a spoiler saying in In a fantasy setting, there's danger in the water. You can take this content back to Chult and now have a sailing expedition in Chult. And if you can't get a big galley, a warship, get a keelboat and go downriver and use the supplements in Saltmarsh for travel on the copious rivers and through the swamps and lakes on the interior of Chult. Have fun with it. It's there. You can do something similar. Indeed. Oh, Plunder Loot, 13 months. Thank you so much. You know, go to Curse of Strahd and get a riverboat. Because you can use a riverboat and boats on the lake to explore or have encounters. You can use these rules in so many other locations that have been brought up in prior adventures. But now, take a nautical look. Have fun. There's so much content that you can choose to incorporate or choose to, say, you know what, that's way too detailed. I, as the DM, I know what they're going to run into, and I'll do it. That's fine. Because all of these are options. And especially in 5th edition, this is what I love so much about this edition. You are offered splat, but it doesn't necessarily compete with the core stuff. And the books themselves are constantly reminding you, these are options. Run with it if you want to run with it. Modify it if you want to modify it. Have fun with it. And so, by the way, for all the creatures that it mentioned that aren't in the monster manual, ta-da! Right, the Assassin Vine, actually I think the Assassin Vine is in Tomb of Annihilation. Yeah, there we go. And of course, the Tomb of Annihilation directly mentions Volo's Guide to Monsters. And even though you can acquire the book, if your DM allows it, in the game, it's kind of an interesting meta. Even if the Assassin Vine is in Volo's, because it's not in the monster manual, it's here. But look, it's also brought up here. Because they're not... 5th Ed isn't expecting you to have all of the prior content. And I'm grateful for that. They won't tell you that the Assassin Vine is located in another module. Or they won't tell you that the Assassin Vine is in Volo's Guide to Monsters. Instead, they're going to go and say it's not in the monster manual, and so we are going to print it here. Void Soul, thank you very much for the follow. And again, Mr. Plunderloot, thank you for the subscription. Well, Maddie, I couldn't have possibly known, as little D&D experience I have, that there could be monsters in the water. I can't play... Yeah, that's right. You are spoiled for Tomb of Annihilation forever now, oh sheeps. Bubonic one, that was the hag up there. That is a green hag. Not a green hag. A sea hag. That's the 5th edition art for a sea hag. Hello, Terror. Welcome back. I find the concept of a Warforged sailor interesting, unless they are immune to rust, which they are not, to my knowledge. Yeah, so that'd be something that you would want to bring up with your Dungeon Master. Are you made of aluminum, or are you made of iron or steel? And if you're made of steel, are you made of stainless steel? And is the wood that's a part of your body, will that crack and splinter under the dryness and salt of the sea air? Those are things to bring up as well. Or do you have to carry some like teak oil and keep yourself going? Let's see. Sorry if I've missed some stuff here. I'm catching up in chat real quick. Plunderloot's been watching this channel as long as I have. Yep, y'all are the old folks around here. 13 months old. I mean, I do remember when we would get 2 people watching, and that's probably like adding up the entire time we were broadcasting, we'd have 2 people watching. And now look, right now we're hovering at almost 30 people. And of course, a lot of people have come and gone. So for all of you out there, if you're lurking, for those of you who follow, subscribe, or whatever, it is appreciated, and welcome to our workshop and our community. Got to get up early tomorrow, so you're out. Have a good night. All right, Hark, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Darkhawk 2, what do you recommend to a guy who's never played D&D to start? Yeah, Hook. Sorry, the random name generator came to mind apparently. Darkhawk. The player's handbook has 90% of everything you could ever need to play 5th edition D&D. Yes, we're talking about supplements. So we're talking about modules that have stories and all these supplemental things for sailing ships and all that. This is fun. This is highly optional. If all you get is the player's handbook, Darkhawk, that, unless you intend on running D&D, which you should at some point in time, it's not that hard, and it shouldn't be scary. Player's handbook is most of what you need. And there's now 2 different starter sets. There's the Lost Mine of Phandelver, which is it was the first starter set for 5th Ed. Has some pre-generated characters and a story ready to play out of the box. So whether you want to learn how to run or you want to learn how to play, or just do both, buy the starter for yourself, even if you don't have a crew set up yet, and read through it and understand how things work. Go through the motions, roll the dice, look at the characters. There's also a new Stranger Things starter set that just came out. And there will soon to be a Rick and Morty themed D&D starter set that will be coming out. And so those are solid for starting out too, especially because you will get some dice and it has this pre-gen content. So you don't necessarily have to worry about how things were created, but it'll teach you how to use the resources you have. And it's like $20 or so, maybe 25 depending. As a game store owner, I mean, I'm giving you the pitch, my bias. But also, Darkhawk, come and hang out here at the workshop. It's free. We'll give you advice. You can also hang out on our Discord where we have a mentor channel to answer your questions as well. So even if I'm not broadcasting, myself and other people who've stepped up to volunteer to be mentors can help guide you and answer your questions. I'm falling asleep, but I really appreciate the help. I hope you have a great rest of the stream. Hypnotic Gamer, thanks for stopping by. Thank you for the conversation. And thank you for asking for our advice. And I really hope that, that it'll turn out well for you. I mean, the course of action that was suggested here could feel difficult to do. But do it. Give it a go. None of us are trying to steer you wrong. I think we've given you support for why we said what we did. And hopefully it'll work. And things will heal. Tara says the new Essentials one will be for 1 DM and 1+ players, but I don't know when that's coming out. I forget offhand, Tara. I'd have to check my sales sheets. Darkhawk, thanks a lot. Noted. We'll get the handbook and try it with friends and check this channel again if I had further questions. Just wanted a group game we could play at camp. Oh, yeah, if you're doing something for summer camp, get a starter set. Darkhawk, if you can find it, go to a local game store, local hobby or comic store. And get the starter. I mean, the player's handbook will not steer you wrong in that regard too, because you can learn a ton. But yeah, that's the way to go. That's the way forward. And you have a friendly community here that is very open to new players. You cannot ask a stupid question like, "What's a D20?" If anyone gives you a snarky remark at that by being a new player to D&D, I will have words with that person and not with you. Because it's a learning process, and we want to teach this game to other people because of how awesome it is and the memories you can make. Darkhawk, if you are going to take D&D to summer camp, I sincerely hope you have awesome storytelling sessions at a campfire, by the lake, in the woods. Man, you could live the adventure. You'll do more than what a lot of us do if we just sit at a kitchen table. And you are going to make friends, and you are going to make memories that are going to last a lifetime. I mean, talk to some of the longbeards in this channel, or graybeards, or long graybeards, about when they started playing and all the memories they've had. I've been playing D&D since 2000, running only since 06 or so. So my beard is not nearly prodigious enough to be called a long beard in role playing. Pouty Lips, hey, thank you very much. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20 bits, and that is going to go towards the August goal. Thank you very much, Pouty Lips. I appreciate that. And Mr. Hey, Shlomo, welcome. Mr. Plunderloot, you asked, what do I have? Is that in terms of miniatures? If so, I have 2 Storm King's Thunders, 2 Monster Menagerie 3s, and 6 Tomb of Annihilation boxes left. There is a gift set for all 3 books, a slipcase, and a DM screen also. Oh, Pouty, hey, thank you. Well, I guess I'm up to 203. Oh, my goodness. Your all's generosity is amazing. So remember, the Storm King's Thunder and the Monster Menagerie 3 are at $13.22 for the split. Tomb of Annihilation is $11.18. I did have some Dungeon of the Mad Mage. However, we ended up popping those open, and we're having some fun roleplay prompts with them earlier. Fallon is visiting. Welcome back, Fallon. And Pouty Lips, thank you again. My goodness. Well, for the workshop portion of tonight, I think we put in our work. We discovered the crew, who they are, what they do. We talked about travel. We cross-referenced it to the other books. We went over some of the mechanics that you find in the stat blocks. And just the amazing crunch, the rules. For those of you who are new, you have fluff and you have crunch. Fluff is storytelling stuff. Crunch are the mechanics. That's the math. And not that it's complex math. I don't want to make it sound scary. And so we went over in the workshop the crunch of the system here. And so, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we've had a successful broadcast. I'm not going to be going offline just yet. I still have too much energy. So I'll be sticking around for a while. But for the workshop portion of me keeping these open, yeah, I mean, we can answer questions. We can explore stuff willy-nilly. But I presented what I wanted to present. And tomorrow, let's do some random character generation, and let's make a crew for a ship for practice. Hey, Shlomo. Is that for a box? Are you going for a box, Shlomo? You finished 2 of the 6 characters for your commission? Ah. Oh, well, my goodness, Shlomo. Thank you so much. And Chuckle, thank you for the follow. It'll probably pop up here in a second. That was very generous of you. And Augury as well. I see the notification there. Thank you. Is the crew an NPC crew, or we're going to generate them as if they were player characters. So we're going to go through our random roll guide, and we're going to give them a race, a class, and all this. In fact, I'm willing to open it up to, we'll put all hands on deck. All options will be open for these characters, and then we'll apply the role of officer to them as it's described in the Ghosts of Saltmarsh. And then we can go through the motions of building some crew members. Hey, there's the notification. Thank you very much for that. $11 bits for an even number. Oh, thank you. Whoops. My cat must have hit numlock. Yep. Well, I'm sorry. So the backgrounds, bubonic. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to use the Saltmarsh backgrounds for the characters, for at least for 4 of them. We're gonna make 4 characters. Because I want to explore those backgrounds. So I'm gonna open up race and class, and the backgrounds are gonna be the Saltmarsh content. Uh-oh. A little bit of a bit war going on. Oh, snap. And that beautiful German accent. Okay, so half of the box, half of the so we can pull a good monster menagerie. So that'll be 22 for the monster menagerie, and then 23 is going to go to the fund. Thank you so, or I'm not 23. I'm sorry, because it's 35. I was looking at the wrong number. So of that then 22. So that's going to leave $13. 13 for the goal and 22 for the full pull of monster menagerie. Yeah, there were 4 new backgrounds introduced by the Ghosts of Saltmarsh, and so because I want to feature that content, we're going to use that tomorrow and Saturday as we go through character building practice. And actually, if you are still with us, Darkhawk, tomorrow's workshops will be an excellent way. Ooh, and that's my last monster menagerie, Mr. Plunderloot. So we'll see what you end up getting from that. Tomato Blue, I have the guidebook, 2 sets of die, and nobody to play with. You're sad, Tomato. Well, look, there's a community here that you may be able to find some play. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I'll put that down on the amount there. My goodness. Oh, geez, you all are. You're humbling me. I mean, believe me, I've eaten my fair share of humble pie. I've had it, life experiences. Oh, well, thank you, Hypnotic. So yes, what we're gonna do tomorrow, we're gonna make 2 characters using our random roll guide, and we'll use the backgrounds, but we'll open it up to all races and classes and subclasses that aren't Unearthed Arcana. We're talking printed stuff, and we'll have fun. And Darkhawk and anyone else who's new, if you want to know how to build a character, we'll show you a way to build a character. It's not the way that's in the player's handbook, but the methodology we use will bring the character to life in front of you and should motivate you and make you all the more confident to play your character in a game. Because that's what's important. The math is nice. It's fun to roll dice and add numbers. But playing your character is a way for you to explore that world of fantasy and this world of reality through a different lens, through a different set of life circumstances maybe you've never lived before. But this is your opportunity to try it out. Yeah, so I'm sorry. I'm gonna pop these. I'll pop these boxes here.